1. I've been in the service industry long enough to have seen and dealt with some crazy things and people. So it usually takes a lot to get me rattled or upset about something that a customer says or does. With that being said, the other day I had an experience with this couple that took me aback for the first time in a long time. Now, the restaurant I work at is known for their endless first course and their breadsticks, if y'all catch my drift. Typically, busy night, we're on a giant wait, and they have me serving the tables in the bar area. A lady and her husband come up to the bar to order drinks from our bartender while they were waiting on a table, and then they ended up being sat in my section. Went up and greeted them, did my whole spiel, got their drinks and their appetizer order, and everything seemed fine. After I put their appetizer in, I waited a few minutes and then went back to the table, asking them if they were ready to order or if they wanted to wait for the appetizer first. Before I can even finish my sentence, the man looks at me and says, "We haven't even gotten our appetizer yet." So I explained that I had put it in and just wanted to make sure they weren't in a rush or didn't want to order right away. Once I'm done explaining this, the man looks me dead in my face and says, "You have some serious balls coming up and asking us if we're ready to order before we get our appetizer. How dare you?" I kinda stood there for a second and looked at his wife, who just looked back at me with disdain and disgust almost. Instead of saying something back, I just walked away and went to check on my other tables, because I didn't even know what to say or do with this table at this point. After a few minutes, I went back to the kitchen and got their appetizer, brought it out to them, and when I set it down, the man looks at me again and says, "So where the hell's the soup I ordered?" I looked at him and said, "I'm sorry, you haven't ordered yet. Therefore, I cannot bring you your soup or salad, because I don't have a way to ring it into the system without an entree." He did not like that answer. He threw his hands up in the air, and his wife said, "Well, why the fuck wouldn't you tell him that? We've been sitting here waiting." Now, this wasn't just me being difficult, this is actually corporate policy, because people sometimes come in and fill up on salad or soup, saying they're gonna order and then just leave. At this point in this interaction, I'm over this table, and mind you, they're speaking to me this way and acting like this in front of their child. I didn't know what to do or say, so all I did was shrug my shoulders and said, "So sorry about the confusion," and walked away. I wasn't even in the kitchen for 2 minutes when our hostess came up to me and asked me what was going on with the table, because they came up to the host stand and said, "Can we get another server? Our server has a serious attitude problem and clearly doesn't want to give us what we want." They then proceeded to complain about me to the manager and got another server, and complained about me to the other server while I was still in the kitchen and could hear them. Like I said, I've dealt with some crazy people and some crazy stuff, but dang, bro, that one spun me and threw me off for sure. And of course, that was just the tone for the rest of the night. People have no common decency or respect, I swear. 2. So this is a job I've had for over a year, and I absolutely loved it. The staff were my second family, and I made so many worthwhile friendships. I practically could do whatever I wanted there, eat during shifts, sit on my phone if we were slow, free food from the kitchen every shift, etc. I always used to say that I could get away with murder there, and I'm so sad that this is how my time ended. Okay, so to start, I live in South Florida, where we have seasons, and the restaurant is incredibly busy. This means that you can make majority of your money in 3 or 4 months out of the year because many tourists come in when it's incredibly cold elsewhere. This summer was an absolute brutal one where it was incredibly hot, and there were times you could walk out and only make $50. I was part-time during the summer and only recently decided to start coming back full-time because it was picking up. Now, for some added context, I crashed my car and have been mainly relying on Ubers. So for me to Uber back and forth, I wanted to be sure I was making good money to offset that cost. About 3 weeks ago, our main GM quit, and the new one is a complete asshole that the entire staff despises. He makes our lives miserable, and is the type that loves to hover and point out where you're not working hard enough, despite never lifting a finger himself. He is the type to tell you to pick a chip up off the floor while completely walking past it. Since he's transferred to my store, I've been heavily looking into finding a new job, and every day warring with the thought of quitting. The day it finally happened, there was a lot of rain, and there were hurricane warnings posted all weekend. The restaurant is on the beach, so 90% of the restaurant is outdoor seating. Great in theory when we have sunshine and 90-degree weather, not so great when it's raining. The morning of my shift, I was texting my GM and one of my managers if I needed to come in, because it would be a waste Ubering when I wasn't needed. I had constant communication with my manager, but unfortunately he couldn't make the call. That was up to my GM. I first texted my GM at 11 a.m. and he did not reply until 30 minutes before I would have to leave to make it to work on time. Didn't bother replying to me until almost 4 hours later, which is so disrespectful. I was on the phone complaining to my dad and just decided to say screw it, and quit and not go in. I was going to spend the time I wasn't working job hunting instead. So when my shift started, I texted my manager I quit, and I've never felt so powerful in my life. Within 1 hour of me quitting, I got hired at the first restaurant I stepped into, which honestly made my entire day. Just goes to show you have the power to change things about your life you don't like. 3. Saturday was a pretty good night overall. It wasn't too busy, it wasn't too slow. It was great and we were all making good money. Unfortunately, I happened to be closing that night, and sometimes our late-night crowd isn't the best. I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and try to give them the best service I can, no matter what. I got a 5-top at about 10:30 who seemed super nice, even though they were already kind of drunk. I got them drinks, got them all the dips they asked for, and they were fine. Then, every 15 minutes, I started noticing more people at the table, and then more people showed up. It was really weird, and not all of them asked for anything or were even sitting at the table. This is about when they started running me off my ass. Can you get this? Can I get that? What is she drinking? I want one. Their bill ended up over $200 in drinks and dips, and one person got an entree that I had to remake because her drunk ass told me hard corn shells and not flour tortillas for her tacos, when she wanted the opposite. Fine, whatever, I had them remade. This entire time, I had to ignore another table. This table literally wouldn't let me leave without demanding for several things. I can't just say no, it doesn't work like that. Finally, at 11:30, this girl my age came in, already kinda drunk, but I checked her ID and gave her a margarita. She was the last one to show up, thankfully, because we were closing in 30 minutes. Then they all start asking for their checks around 11:45, and it made me want to die because they all moved around and I couldn't figure out who had what. I figured it out for the most part, just one lady had to pay twice because I split her appetizer and her drinks on accident. I had my coworker check on my other table because I literally couldn't get away from this table. They left me $5 for their meal, even though I gave them shitty service. I still feel guilty about that, even though it wasn't really my fault. I came to the last girl who came in, and she ran her card and had no tip. It declined, and that's where I was like, oh great. This is gonna be that table, isn't it? She transferred money in front of me and then ran the card again, hit no tip, and it ran through. I left a short goodbye after that interaction. I realized the rest of them probably didn't tip me either. After they left, I checked all their closed tabs and sure enough, they were that table. On an over $200 tab, I made $5. Gave them the best service I could and still made nothing. In fact, I lost tips I had already earned due to the tip out from their table, and from another $200 table that had stiffed me a couple of hours earlier. I had never cried at work before because I usually try not to take shitty tables to heart, but it's been rough lately, and it just came out. I let myself cry a few tears, cleaned up, and then closed that godforsaken restaurant. I really hope they never come back. 4. Last night, I had a 9-top of Russian speakers that were there for a kid's birthday. The mom of the group was a little needy, but overall pretty easy to deal with. I was busy, but not overwhelmed, just triple sat, a 4, a 6, and this 9. Started with drinks for the 9, then took orders for the other 2 tables. I came back with drinks for everyone, asked if they were ready for appetizers, and one of the ladies hissed me with, "Can we order some appetizers?" Sure, whatever. When they're finally ready to order mains, a bunch order fillets, and I'm stoked. It's going to be a great table for autocrat. I get to the point of sale, and there's a countdown on filet. I had already had to steer one away from an unavailable item towards that, since they wanted a steak, and the other 2 available are overpriced small portions of trash cuts. Point of sale said I had enough filet for all but one person, so I had to ask for a volunteer to order something else. Dad decides he's not hungry, that's fine. He seems okay with it, and just orders another beef after I offer anything else. I apologize and move on. As I'm running food to another table, someone tells me they need me at the 9-top. When I get there, they tell me someone came by to tell them we have no fillets. I look at them in disbelief, despite this being very believable. It had already been about 15 minutes since I put everything in, so I tell them to give me a minute to figure this out. I go up to the manager of the line, and he tells me the same thing. None. I see exactly 1 in the pass when I ask what happened to the countdown. He tells me someone comped some fillets, and they got put back into the system. Obviously, when there's none left, if you comp, you need to fix the count too. Maybe it was the other manager's fault, whatever. Angrily, I tell the guy to fix this and give him the menus he just handed me, and then run some food for another of my tables. As I'm picking up plates, I start seeing the other dishes for my party show up in the window, so I know there's going to be a major gap between half of the party's orders. Despite my pressure against the other 2 steak items, the guests that will get no filet order the one thing I tell them isn't worth it, all with different modifications. Food from the first round of orders starts coming out. Food runner brings the birthday boy the wrong steak twice. His was the only filet left, and we wait for the rest to ultimately come out fucked up. 15 minutes later, the little girl is complaining that she's hungry, and I assure them it's coming out very soon. I check with Expo. Everything is ready, but we're waiting on modded sides. Fuck it, let's go. And they drop the fries now, so it's going to be at least 4 more minutes. I bring everything that's ready and apologize for the delay in the kitchen. At least the little girl is happy. None of the modifications ever come out, and I just bring them the fries they ordered later. In the end, after birthday desserts and coffee, I don't charge for coffee after alcohol. I bring the bill and say, "Guys, I haven't seen a bill like this in 5 years. I apologize for everything that's gone wrong tonight, and I hope we can do better next time." It had only drinks on it. The manager never said anything to me or the table about this, and the guy goes, "I know this had nothing to do with you. Thank you so much," and hands me a $100 and a signed copy of his $80 bill. At no point after shit hit the fan did I even consider an autograt, so I was extremely grateful. I expressed my genuine appreciation, wished them happy holidays, and said goodbye. Despite the work and frustration this disaster table brought me, it was a great experience to end the night with. When everything goes wrong, if you do everything right, people will probably notice. Thanks for listening. 5. Hey all, I'm a barista in a local cafe. But I do deliver food to the kitchen, so numbered tables. This is a really long, ranty story about today, and how I disassociated so hard that I don't remember coming home afterward. 6:30 a.m. I arrive. Out the gate, people lined up outside before arriving at 7. I'm optimistic at this point. This has happened before. It's me on bar making drinks and serving food. Then there's Abby on the register taking orders and getting pastries. And finally, Joe in the kitchen. We're doing good. It's slow at first, besides the big group at the beginning. Then it ramps up like normal. 7 a.m. Chef no call, no shows. Joe will be alone in the kitchen for the day. It's been steady, so he thinks it's fine. About half the cafe is full. 8 a.m. Other barista, no call, no shows. We're down our float. Who makes things go smoothly and helps both register and bar with their tasks. Ugh, on a Sunday. The busiest day of the week? That's awful. Time to start praying it'll go smoothly. We had capacity for table seats. 9:30 a.m. We didn't pray hard enough. In fact, we probably don't even pray to whatever god. We asked Satan himself directly to make our day the absolute worst it could possibly be. We learned a gingerbread house building event full of children was happening next door, and guess where they all had plans of going afterward. So that was the cherry on top of a Sunday, with clear weather and down to 2 people. At this point we are struggling. Communication down to quick sentences. Need to be focused pretty hard on what you're doing so things can keep running smoothly. It's getting hard to find numbers on tables to deliver food. The cafe is filling up. 10 a.m. Bam! First family of 6. We know it had truly begun. Busiest I've ever experienced. Mainly children. Each wanted a drink, so did their parent. And a pastry, and a panini, burrito, or sandwich for each. The children are all hyped on sugar and screaming everywhere. Line out the door, cafe filled. All the tables were at capacity, inside and outside, as well as people just standing in the empty spaces, so it's like fucking sardines in there. 11 a.m. I texted my friend who asked hours early if I was at work. Yes, I'm working. 12 p.m. I'm making all the complex drinks, lattes, teas, smoothies, anything steamed or with espresso. Abby's taking orders and helping me with simple and easy-to-get drinks, drip coffee, cold brew. This is a story I don't remember at all. So, this is a shitty retelling of what Abby told me happened after the shift. I'm meticulously making drinks. So streamlined and purposeful, I look like a robot according to her. Abby has a quick second while the guy is paying to get a shot of espresso for me into a pitcher. She puts the pitcher in my line of sight in a corner of the counter I'm working on. She says, "I got you a shot." And I say, "Okay, thank you," without missing a beat. I don't touch it for like a couple of minutes. "Hey, I got you a shot," she says. "Okay, thanks," I say. Same thing happens a few more times. "Thank you," I respond to her once more. Christ, 3 times I have no recollection of. But anyways, after like 10 minutes, I look at this picture I had never seen before. And I go, "Hey, what's in this picture?" She takes a couple of seconds to answer, but eventually goes, "The espresso shot I got you 10 minutes ago." I told you like 3 times. I'm so embarrassed. 1 p.m., Abby and I switched places. I kept telling customers while taking orders, the wait time is going to be around 30 to 40 minutes. We are extremely backed up. And the customers kept responding, "That's fine." And I'm like, "Great." Like, no, that means don't fucking order because the cook is about to jump into the deep fryer if he gets another ticket. And we don't even have a deep fryer. 2 p.m. My shift end time was noon, and I literally couldn't leave until 2 because I was trapped. The line out the door finally died down, to bad instead of horrific. We had gotten 270 orders from opening until the time I left. Each order had 1 to 7 drinks. I made at least 500 fucking drinks today. Each one with different milks, different flavors, temperatures, sizes, toppings. No wonder I was disassociated. 2:20 p.m. I get home. Somehow. I stared at the ceiling, I think, until I got a call from my dad at like 4 p.m. Thanks for listening. That felt great to get out. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 231. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit that like button. Thank you kindly. If you want to get early access to the video, support me on my Patreon. Hit that link in the description, and it'll take you right to the page, and you can select whatever you'd like a month. If you want to get some Hellfreezer merchandise, there's also a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring. And if you enjoyed the video and would like to leave a tip, press that little heart with a $sign. That's a tip button, and you can select the tip of your choice. You don't have to do this, and if there's any YouTubers trying to make you think you do have to do this, you tell me who they are and I'll sort them out for you. But I do appreciate it. Okay, no, there's no other business. I know there's no other business. Why am I saying I don't think? I know there's no other business. So let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, if coffee was suddenly gone from the world, never existed, or we know it existed, we just couldn't use it anymore. Maybe there's like a coffee blight and they can't make any more coffee beans. What would you drink instead? Personally, I enjoy tea already, and I would hope they find a way to synthesize caffeine so that I can still have it in energy drinks, because I'm able to drink those again. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing to me after like 2 years of not being able to do it. It's just so good. Within reason and moderation, obviously. Probably tea. I guess it could synthesize the caffeine from the tea, couldn't it? Yeah. And hot chocolate. Let me know what your answers are in the comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.